Hey horror fans, thanks for joining me for this review of The Final Girls. Alright, cast and crew information down below, and let's get into this IMDb plot here to start off. A young woman grieving the loss of her mother, a famous scream queen from the 1980s, finds herself pulled into the world of her mom's most famous movie. Reunited, the woman must fight off the film's maniacal killer. Oh yeah, here we go. All right, so maybe a little bit embarrassed that I haven't seen this movie. I know many of fans have already seen this movie. Uh, Probably wanting to be watching this review because many of you have already seen it and know that you should be watching this movie. I've heard plenty to talk about it over the last couple of years. This is 2015, and I somehow managed to miss this one. So I recently caught it, and I don't remember where the hell I watched this. I'm excited that I finally got to see it, and kind of see what all the talk was about. So I'm gonna go full blast into this. So spoiler alert. I figure most of you out there have seen this. Maybe not huge on twist here, so I don't know if that really matters. But I'm going to speak completely freely about this one since it is about 5 years old now. Again, shame on me. But, you miss them sometimes. Starting off here, it's got a really good cast here. You have several actors who you've seen now. The girl who used to be on American Horror Story, and a couple of other actors who have gone on to do other stuff. One from Vampire Diaries, and I believe the other guy is in Vikings, and so forth. And another one's a comedian now, and so forth. I don't want to go through the list here, but so the acting is strong enough in the movie, and you see that off the bat. So we'll just get that out of the way. What I found fascinating about this is the story and how it's put together here. Really interesting story. Basically, you have a young girl here, Max, who is with her mother, and they suffer a tragic event early on in this movie, and you find out her mom passed away. And years later, it's still with her and haunting her. But her mom happened to be a scream queen, who was in a very famous horror movie, kind of very similar to Friday the 13th and Jason. And she happened to be part of that movie, and so that's pretty cool in itself. And anyway. So she goes to the theater one night with her friends, and everything seems normal. But then, almost a Final Destination kind of thing happens here. A certain event or two plays off, and the theater apparently catches on fire. And just as the girl was about to make her way out of the theater, so she ends up kind of running back down with her friends. And her friends decide how to escape the theater because the fire has basically blocked the exit. Let's go through the screen. So I think she picked up one of them picked up something and kind of cuts it and goes into the screen. Now, granted, I believe they were showing her mom's film, if not another horror movie. I don't remember exactly, but they go through the screen, and as opposed to coming out on the other side, they apparently come out in the woods. They're very confused. Her and several of her friends here are just in the woods. Like, what is happening here? Weren't we just in the theater? And long and behold, here comes a van, and two camp counselors have the windows down and basically ask them where the camp is, and they kind of just stare at them like, what the hell? And they drive off, And while the group there is kind of like, what the hell is happening? Here comes the van again, and they proceed to ask them again and again and again and again. And so it is very apparent that nothing is happening, and they start giving them directions, telling them that it's like down the street or whatever, and they're still kind of like, what the hell is happening? But they recognize them. So they finally decide, okay, well, we're getting nowhere. We can't just sit here forever. They decide to get in the van. They get in the van. They start talking about, hey, they're counselors, so they go along with it and say, hey, but they're counselors too. So everybody's great. It's all good. Just before they pull up, they find out that there's somebody sleeping in the back, and long and behold, that is the girl's mother. Yes. And everybody's kind of in shock, and then it kind of dawns on them that they might be in that movie. They might be in that movie that she did. But they're still trying to figure out what is happening here. So they end up at the camp, and they start getting settled in, and wondering, again, how they got there, what is going on. And soon enough, they find themselves in a situation where the killer is. And the killer proceeds to do what he does. And this one is, again, okay, so this is a horror comedy. So, they are going to make light of the Friday the 13th style movies. And obviously, later, The Final Girl, obviously, because this is called The Final Girls. But they really stress the point in here. As we all know, Jason doesn't like counselors and doesn't like counselors who have sex. So they really stress that point here. So basically you have two counselors, and they're getting a little too friendly. And that's basically the smoke signal for this killer. I forgot what his name was. But this killer to come out of the woods and proceed to kill these two people. And the group is there. They're kind of scared, and they want to run. But one of their friends there says, "Oh, well, we're part of the movie, but we weren't really in the script, so nothing's really gonna happen to us." And he kind of tries to test the theory out. He kind of gets really close to the killer. He's like, "Oh, see, nothing's gonna happen there," and so forth. And the killer kind of restrains himself for a moment, and you think all is good. And no, it's not. No. The killer proceeds to drive his machete into him, and the rest of the group runs in fear of their lives, and realizing that they're now fair game as well. So they run back to camp, and it's funny because when they do, much like the scene with the van, they come running down towards camp and then try to run away from camp, and can't do it. They kind of end up in a time warp where they end up coming back and running again and again and again and again until they realize that they're not escaping. They realize that they are stuck in this movie. So with that, they kind of have to regroup and decide, how they're going to approach this. They know that there's a killer out there. They have the advantage. They've seen this movie. Obviously, the other counselors have not. They have no idea that there's a killer there either. And how do you explain this to them? So, they kind of formulate a plan amongst things. And obviously here, going back to this one, the main girl, or I should say the soon-to-be final girl, she kind of has to decide here, what approach is it that she wants to take with her mother. I mean, it's a very awkward situation. It's her mother, but really not her mother. Her mother in the real world is dead, and this is her mother playing a character in this movie. And her mother can't be her mother because they are strictly just characters in this movie. So, there's some interesting talk there that goes back and forth. Um, but one of the funny scenes and what I enjoyed is this in the setup here is how they decide that they're going to take on this killer, because they realize that the killer's going to come, and these counselors are in danger, and so are they. So what's funny here is how they take one girl who really, one counselor who I guess is very slutty, if you want to say it that, and I guess for sure is going to have sex, and they basically try to tell her to hold in all of her excitement for sex and any urge of that, and you kind of see her there. She's just dying to let it out. She's holding it in as best she can, and it's really funny there. And as they prepare, as they set traps out, we've seen it done in several horror movies. You kind of think of this, or even Home Alone, where they're setting their little cabin up there for the killer to come in and for them to kill him. But if anybody out there has seen Friday the 13th, that it's not going to work, no matter what they do. So really funny, and again, I as this movie's rolling along, I'm seeing why so many people like this movie. Just hilarious scene how they unleash the girl. She goes to the front door of this cabin. She's still kind of inside, but she's there. They open the door, and she starts she didn't get completely naked, but she had wrapped herself up in several items. So she started doing a dance. I forgot what song they play. They play a really good song, and she starts taking off items of clothing and starts doing a sexy dance and twirling all around there. And long and behold, out in the dark shadows and the smoke, here comes the killer, because he couldn't resist. This girl is getting too sexual for him, and he's got to put an end to it. So he makes her way there, comes inside and starts trying to kill people. I think he kills her. They let one or two traps go off. Some work, some don't. Chaotic scene. Some people die. They kind of see the error in their plans. Some, like I said, some things work, some things don't. I think they think they got the killer, but of course they make the mistake of getting too close because he's not dead. That kind of thing. Things that we've seen in Friday the 13th, but all other kinds of horror movies. The killer's just never dead, and you get close to him, he's still alive, and you're gonna die. Kind of starts off fun, but then you get some blood and guts and so forth. And then again they have to regroup here and try again with this killer. And one of the things I really, besides that scene, one of the other things that I really liked about this movie, and there's going to be another one here in a minute, but one of the things I liked is they kind of did one of those scenes where they sit around the campfire and tell the story. And in other horror movies we've seen, somebody's also got to kind of set the stage and tell the story of the killer and why he's there and what happened to him. So, and I think I'm doing things out of order. I think this happened maybe earlier, but the girl's mother is the one who's telling the story, and as she's telling the story, this group of people that have ended up in this movie almost end up in a second movie. They have it where it kind of starts raining down black and white, and the camera kind of starts spinning, and long and behold, they end up in a separate, maybe short film that's black and white of how the killer became the killer. And I thought it was really interesting how they not only took those characters and put them there, but also the technique to how they did the black and white, and how they kind of sprinkled it in, had it kind of drip down the screen there, and kind of time warped them into it, and then reversed it on the other end. It wasn't just like them snapping back. It kind of reversed in the other way and returned them there. And very interesting how they use this technique later on to survive a bad situation. So I liked that, and I liked how they weren't afraid to bring that back and do that a second time, and use it to their advantage. Using the situation to their advantage and using that technique to their advantage. So I thought that was really cool, really neat idea thrown in there. And then what when we get a little bit towards the end of the movie, and it's only a few people left. They kind of know that they're gonna have to set up the final girl battle here. This is all about the final girl. That's how many of these slashers end, and it's basically her and her mom left, and they have to decide who's gonna live, who's gonna die, who's gonna be the final girl. And the mom obviously is the mom, and in a way, and she makes the sacrifice, and she takes one for the team there, leaving the girl to be the final girl. And I think what's really funny here is embracing it. It's like when we have final girls, obviously they obviously have built up the courage to take on the killer in different ways and so forth. But here they kind of push the boundary a little bit and kind of make it not only a lot of times with the final girl, it's a build up of courage and just I've had enough, I'm going to fight back now, or kind of a last measure, either I'm going to fight back or I'm dead, so let's do this. But almost here they take it a little bit further, and it's almost like it's actually giving her powers, like think of it like a video game, like she's powered up. She gets like this sword, or maybe it's another machete, and she goes full blast at the killer, like she's got like superpowers now. And they have a nice drag out battle there, and where earlier in the film, if this would have happened, she definitely would have been dead. But now she's kind of like powered out, and she's hitting him with the knife or the sword, whatever, and they're going at it, and she's getting hit and flying backwards and flipping up in the air and fighting back, and almost like a Mortal Kombat kind of a battle here. And so I thought that was fun how they kind of pushed the boundary and going in the opposite direction there. Not only overcoming a little bit, but really overcoming and really becoming almost a superhero here, and fighting back here. So I thought that was fun, and eventually, I've gone through most of the movie here and then spoiled everything. So as with every movie, this kind of situation, she's obviously going to make it back to the real world, and makes it back with her friends. Her friends are alive, and they're there in the hospital. And so here's the moment of truth. Was it a dream? Was it were we seeing her have a dream from maybe her accident at the beginning of the movie with her mom, or maybe as a result of the fire and so forth. So they leave you there, but they leave you with the grand thing of, hey, this movie's not over. The killer is not really dead. The final girl returns. And the final girl returns because there's going to be a sequel. Yes, the killer is in the hospital and ready to go toe-to-toe with them again as the movie ends. Maybe you could have told by at the beginning of this video. But yeah, now I see why everybody watched this movie, why everybody loves this movie. I certainly liked it. I certainly enjoyed it. I've seen a lot of enthusiasm for it. So maybe people liked it more than I did. I'm not hating on it. Not hating on it. I enjoyed it. But people swear by it. I don't. I wasn't blown away. I really, really did enjoy it, though. I enjoyed a lot of the things. I thought it was a wonderful idea how they put this together. Definitely did a lot of interesting things in there. Um, we've seen a lot of the topic of the final girl over the last couple of years, and this one's in 2015, so that's at least 5 years right here. Um, but a lot of topic, it's a huge topic. Kind of as we see women in horror change, their roles change, their roles change in these movies. They're not always just the girl that has to be the final girl anymore. You have to wait to the end of the movie to fight back. You're seeing a lot of different roles with women who are fighting back a lot earlier and a lot stronger in these movies. This one is a comedy take on it too. The comedy is wonderful. Like I said, the acting is great. All these people have had good careers in acting, and so I think I'm going to give this one 3.5. I think I'm going to get into the 4 territory here. I think when I get into the 4, I really, I start really, really liking it. I think I'm going to give this one 3.5. It is a good movie, and I see why everybody liked it. Everybody should see it. I would definitely recommend seeing it. Definitely funny stuff here. And now I'm glad I can check this one off my box and not feel like when people talk like that about it and be like, oh yeah, that was a good movie. I didn't really see it. But so I'm glad I saw it and now can join this conversation 5 years later. 3.5 pools of blood, but I'm sure lots of people out there gave it a higher rating, and that's fine. Definitely recommend it. So I will finalize this review and say subscribe to this channel for more video reviews. Obviously more reviews, including written ones, at horoscorereviews.blogspot.com. And that is down below along with social media, so always hit me up there if you want to talk about this movie, other movies. Always interested to know what you guys are watching. If I haven't seen it, I want to see it. If I can, if you have something for me to review, let me know, and I will try to do that in one way or the other if I can. That is The Final Girls. Finally got to see it, and I will catch you on the next review, horror fans.